Okay, we're ready. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. We've had a very busy week with the Idaho GOP. Actually, we've had a very busy year and a half since I first took the gavel. I want you to know that our meeting that we had, our winter meeting, went along swimmingly. We had a great turnout. We had some good resolutions passed, and the main purpose of this meeting today is to let you know what resolutions did pass. The rules are really more in-house as far as how we deal with business on a day-to-day basis with the party, but as far as the resolutions, I hope this will guide some of the legislators to understand what grassroots Republicans want to see addressed this session. So anyway, we're going to start with that pretty quickly. I do have our liaisons who will be following up after I talk about the resolutions. Senator Glenneda Zuiderveld and Representative Julianne Young. I'll give them about 5 minutes each as soon as I go through the wrap-up of what happened at the winter meeting. We had our winter meeting at Harvest Church this year in Meridian. The venue was fantastic. How many of you were there? Raise your hands. It was great. Had a lot of room. We had ample parking. Last year we had it at the Riverside for my first winter meeting, and that was a great venue as well, but somebody was having a wedding last weekend and it kind of messed things up. But I really do like Harvest Church. It was a great facility, and a lot of fellowship, a lot of unity in the party, and I'm just thrilled at how it all came out. As far as the winter meeting resolutions, I'm going to get into the main ones, and then we'll take some questions after I go through all of them. There were, as far as the resolutions go, there were about 21 that were brought forward, and there were actually a total of about 8 that got through. Oh, here we go. Okay, we had, yes, 1, 2, yeah, about 8. And then there's a minority report. Minority report means that these couple of resolutions came close to passing, but didn't quite muster enough vote. But we did mention them so people understand what was another concern of a lot of the folks who were attending the meeting. In the first one that we have is, of course, dealing with the initiative. A lot of you know that we have an initiative coming forward that would bring ranked choice voting into the state and also open primaries. Although it's only called the Open Primary Initiative, they're kind of sneaking in the ranked choice voting, which is the most dangerous part to that initiative, at least in the eyes of the Republican Party. The initiative process is always, it seems like every year there's an attempt to change things. This resolution, 2024, calls for a 2/3 majority vote. You would think when we do an initiative in November of this coming year that it would have been a 2/3 majority vote. No, it's 50% plus 1. Wow. And a lot of people think that's a pretty low threshold. Yeah. So anyway, there's a call for that, and I do understand that Senator Herndon has already has a draft ready to address that issue. This was the only resolution out of the entire packet to be approved by the State Central Committee. There was one change. It wasn't consistent with the 2/3. There was a 60% in there, but 2/3 is the threshold that the Republican State Central Committee would like to see for any initiative run in this state. The second part in the whereas and therefore be it resolved is that if they do get the 2/3, the most favorable thing that would happen would allow that the legislature passes a constitutional amendment removing the initiative process in its entirety. So there's 2 parts to this resolution. Hopefully they'll go for the 2/3. If not, a steeper hurdle would be for a constitutional amendment change. The second resolution that I thought was very exciting, and Tammy Payne, the Owyhee County Chair, brought this forward. And I want to digress just a minute. I love how the press will always say that Dorothy Moon has brought all these resolutions forward. These are mine. I brought all the rule changes forward. These are all supposed to be mine. I promise you, before I went on KLIX, Bill Colley in Twin Falls last Tuesday, Monday night, I printed up the resolutions for the first time for me to review. I have no idea what's in these packets. So press, I'd love to be the queen of the party and dictate everything I want, but that isn't how it works. The grassroots, and as I just said, Tammy Payne, Owyhee County, her folks way down there in the southwest part of the state are concerned about law enforcement officers in other states not being U.S. citizens. Right. Yeah. I think that's a huge concern. Yeah. So Resolution 2024-6 We had a phenomenal presentation. The Oahe Sheriff, Larry Kendrick, he showed up. Elmore County Mike Hollingshead, he showed up. And they were there in support of peace officers or law enforcement officials from jurisdictions outside of Idaho for the purpose of engaging in law enforcement activities must be U.S. citizens. There was an amendment to that one as well in committee, which said that that would also prevent, in Idaho law, from taking custody of any prisoners to be extradited out of the state. So you cannot have a non-citizen come into our state, grab some people, and take them back to another state. So that passed unanimously as well. So that was a good one. I don't know who is going to be working on that one. I'm sure Tammy Payne will seek out a legislator to help get that passed into law. A third resolution, 2024-7, deals with parental control over children's digital devices. That one was actually entertained in the Senate last session, and it was defeated by 1 vote. I think the question of Republicans liking capitalism and that it should be open to all corporations who want to supply any type of device to prohibit porn being looked at by kids, that the parents have options, and so I'm not sure where this one's going to go. I know there was a bill last year that was defeated in the Senate by 1 vote, and so we'll just see if anything comes of this. But that was one that was also mentioned in our packet. The governor appointment of county commissioners. So this has come about multiple times here in the legislature. In fact, even when I was a legislator, I remember when I was the liaison between the Idaho GOP and the legislature, that folks were a little bit miffed as to why their counties could get together and recommend 3 names and prioritize them 1, 2, and 3. And the governor or governors, even Governor Otter, they would not pick the top choice, maybe not even the second choice, but the third choice. Counties want their preferred choice of the people they know to be put into the office for the county. And that's what this resolution deals with. But in the past, it was addressed to also take on legislative positions. I remember I ran that bill in the House. It was defeated quickly because a lot of people did not want to see that happen, and especially a governor. If I was governor, I would like to keep that power to where I could pick my person instead of going with the top choice of that county. So I think the grassroots want to be involved. They know who the people are in their community. They know who's been working hard and knows everybody and is responsive. And that is the person who should be put in that place. So that legislation needs to come forward. I know it just addresses county officials, but I think if anyone takes this on in the legislature, please include any elected position that is being filled with for a vacancy, death, or otherwise. Okay? So that's another good one. Another one, this is a fun one. Well, not a fun one, but it's more located or isolated, not necessarily just isolated Boise, but was identified here in Boise. This requests the Idaho legislature to prohibit the adoption of local ordinances that mandates Idaho property owners be forced to participate in optional federal housing assistance programs like Section 8. And that's been an issue. When you have a very liberal Democrat mayor, I said it, that's true, and they are encouraging Section 8 housing forced upon landlords, that is their property. There's a big thing in our platform about private property rights, and we're not going to let anybody come in and tell us who we have to rent our property to. If not, you're going to lose your rental market in Boise. Yeah. So please be aware of that. This one, where's Lynn Bradescu? Here. There she is. So Lynn Bradescu is the one who brought that forward, and she's been dealing with this for quite some time. Thank you, Lynn. Take it out. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And another one that I wanted to discuss, this one slipped in at the end. Oh, well, hang on, there's a couple of more. I'm getting out of order, but the housing one is very important. There was one condemning dark money. That was 2024-14. It passed through, and this was talking about some attack ads being used against Republicans, and seemingly is coming from a Republican PAC. So that was one that was mentioned. Yes. Another resolution, 2024-19, and again, these are not mine. This one has come from, okay, this one is from Caribou County. This is just more or less a statement. We do not want marijuana to get into the hands of our youth. Just a statement. We already have laws on the books, so legislators, you're okay on that one. That one is just a statement. The next one would be mandatory minimum sentencing for fentanyl. We know that there was a bill that was run last year. It didn't, there were some problems with it. Again, this is a slippery slope. Mandatory minimums are not the favorite of a lot of legislators in this building. And sometimes you have to question, does the judge know better? And you want to make sure there's no unintended consequences in any bill where all of a sudden some kid who's 18 years old sitting in a passenger seat is caught in this dragnet of getting the trafficker who's driving and sentenced and put away for years. So this has got to be very carefully structured should it come forward again this year. And let's see, this is the last resolution that passed in the packet. It's 2024-22. So they had to vote before the committee meeting started to whether or not they were going to adopt it. And this is also, this is one that was brought in, and Ada County, it was passed by the Ada County Central Committee is the one who brought it in. And again, Ada County, we got a Democrat, Boise mayor. And Boise mayor is saying that you cannot carry, cannot concealed carry or open carry in public places. But this addresses public places and private events. And how I understand how this would work, you're at a park, you're having a wedding, you've got 1,000 people there, you tell them you don't want them carrying guns in a public place for this private event, then you have got to provide or have some sort of security in the event. Some crazy person goes running through that wedding and does some shooting or causes mayhem. That's just a huge overview of how I see this resolution. So this is something that does probably need to be addressed. Idaho is a strong Second Amendment state, always have been, and we need to make sure we protect our rights, but also the concerns of people who are privately obtaining public places for events. Okay, so that was the last resolution that was passed. The two minority reports, just for a quick mention, parents can choose a curriculum, and this was talking about micro schools. This was brought forth by Jim County. Everybody was presenting on this one, and it was a tie vote. It lost by a tie vote, so it was put into a minority report, and it just stated that we're very concerned about school choice, and we want to make sure that parents are involved in curriculum. And when I was a teacher a long time ago, parents were always involved in this selection of new curriculum as a kid coming out of Texas bookbinding places. So anyway, parents do need to be involved in the curriculum, especially in light of some of the materials that are slipping into our textbooks. So that was one that was brought up. So that is still a concern of the grassroots. And the other one is a balance of power one, where Stephen Thane, the past senator, and this is again is Legislative District 14, he brought this forward, of which he is chair, that some of the power from the government needs to be given back to the people. And I think we can all agree with that. So those are the resolutions. It was pretty much a short list. They've got less than half of them that they wanted to see come through. And I think we got through that very readily. I think the very substantive ones that I mentioned at first, I hope they do go into legislation. At this time, I'll take questions for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to turn it over to our liaisons. Are there any questions on any of these resolutions? Or any legislators want to jump up and say, hey, I love that, I'm going to run a bill to address it? No questions? Boy, I did a good job on that. Okay. All right. Let's see. Next, I want my two liaisons who are sitting right here. I don't know who would like to go first, but we have Representative Julianne Young and Senator Glenneda Zuiderveld. And I want to tell you, these two ladies last year did a phenomenal job. They were calling me weekly, letting me know where legislation was. Was it in the House? Was it still in committee? Was it in chambers? Was it held up somewhere? Was it being amended? Anyway, they would call me weekly. We would talk about the issues with the bill. This year I will be up here for 3 months, kind of watching and tracking things. Hopefully you guys are in session longer than the end of February because it's an election year. But anyway, these gals, I marvel at their tenacity and making sure that we are kept up to speed of the happenings, in the Capitol, and then I keep them up to speed as well when we get comments and stuff in our office. So which one of you, Representative, yeah, here we go, Julianne Young.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. Glenneda turned to me and said, let's go alphabetically, and I thought, okay, well, I'll just sit here, and then I realized she starts with Z. That never happens to me. I'd like to just begin with some words that I absolutely love that I hope thrill you equally. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Aren't those beautiful words?
Yeah. Yes.
Those words unite us as Americans all across this country, regardless of our party. If you also believe that the family is the fundamental unit of society, if you believe in the value of personal responsibility, equality before the law, and justice for all, rather than just social justice for select groups, if you believe in the rule of law and free market economics, those values unite us as Republicans. I am so grateful for the opportunity that I have had to serve you in this party that strives to stand for these values. I look forward to a wonderful legislative session, and I'm confident that as we focus on the principles that unite us, that we can accomplish many good things together. So thank you so much for the chance to be here with you today.
The only problem going after Julianne Young, she's a beautiful public speaker. One day I hope to grow up and be like you. And so I was wanting to share the first 17 words of our Republican preamble. And because I think that's very important for what we're dealing with today and what we're going to be dealing with in this session. And those words are, we believe the strength of our nation lies with our faith and reliance on God, our Creator. And so I believe that we've kind of forgotten that because sometimes we want to take on and do it in our own power. And it's on our reliance on God that we do that. And that's in our preamble of the Republican Party. And so I also want to share that I am honored that I was nominated the Outstanding Legislator for the Republican Party. There's a lot of responsibility because now I don't get to slack off. So I have to like double work. And so I just want to say that I do believe that we have one of the greatest chairwomen for our party. She will run circles around us and then more. And so she's a very hard worker. And I also want to just say in her defense that she is overseeing things. It is the legislation that is ones that go up there and vote on these bills. A lot of the people out there are giving her way more power than she has. It is us, it's the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. She's just a chairman trying to keep her ducks in a row and all her cats together. And so I just want to make sure that we understand that because with all those things that were going on, she just she's setting a good example for us. You know, even though they keep coming after her, she just keeps going. And what a wonderful person to have that example that will keep fighting. On the Senate side, I know that we're all ready to work. I know I'm excited about it. I think there's a lot of things coming, and there's a lot of hard workers on the Senate side, and on the House. I should say the House too, but I'm speaking on the Senate. And but I wanted to share a few things that I've heard that are going to be taking place that you can be watching for, because it really is your duty to make sure that you're watching us. and that we're doing the will of the people. We do work for you, not the other way around. So some of the things I asked around to see some of the things, we will be having some bills on DEI, which is, for those that don't know, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We will have an anti-SLAPP bill. The library bill is coming back. We'll have limited powers of the Central Committee, and then there will also be a constitutional amendment that will be adding the homeschool and private schools. Those are just a few things that you'll be seeing in this session. And again, we encourage you to make sure that you're involved with us, that we are going to be transparent, we're going to be truthful, we're going to work hard, because that's why you elected us to be here. And as your Senate liaison, I'll do my utmost to be that go-between our chairwoman, you, and the Senate. So there's a lot of work. We're ready to get our hands dirty. We're ready to work hard. Again, I'm honored to be here, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenneda.